fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice.
Greetings world. We are Anon DK. In this brief video we will see the popular clubs created by the elite. These clubs and orders are used to control all levels of society. One only need to look into the Jesuits to see the amount of control they have. From universities to schools to churches and more, controlling the education of the church, medical fields, law, and thereby controlling the organizations as a whole. The elite have their hands in everything, making it easy to keep the masses asleep and living in a false reality. To the awake it is far too easy to see the matrix. To those asleep it is seen as a joke. The beauty of deception. In the upcoming videos we will be exposing the 13 banking families which we call the lower elite. They are controlled entirely by the upper elite, which are the papal bloodlines, are currently known as Bundy, Collins, Astor, Rothschild, Rockefeller, DuPont, Freeman, Kennedy, Lee, Oasis, Reynolds, Russell, and Van Dewey. One thing to remember about these families: they will always come from nowhere and from poverty or small beginnings, then, magically, they become wealthy and influential. The American dream, right? Remember, dreams only exist when one is asleep. We will briefly mention the prominent clubs, societies and orders created during this time so we can continue with the families. The families are, of course, inbred and interwoven, making them, in reality, one family, as we have discussed. We have already discussed the family's beginnings from Cain through history until now. At this time period it is easier to see them in the individual families we know them as today. Though all brothers of the same blood, we will continue exposing the tribe of the elite in their separated families. The 13 have numerous proxy families which they work through. Some include Adler, Geisheimer, Goldschmidt, Guggenheim, Lazard, Oppenheimer, Seligman, Sichel, Speyer, Stern, Wolf, Aitchison, Bell, Billings, Brown, Bucklad, Clinton, Eddy, Frost, Gardner, Hall, Hopkins, Hooker, Kennedy, Leake, Lord, Morgan, Sinclair or St. Clair, Smith, Tokii, Llewellyn, Habsburgs, and Sassus. Like the upper elite, the lower elite have breeding families they marry with. Everything is planned. In 1513 Sir William Sinclair, who breathed new life in the Enochian magic of Scotland, died. This is connected to the Watchtower societies also known as Jehovah's Witness. The Russell and Rutherford families came from Scotland, as well as Macmillan and many other key early Watchtower leaders. The Jesuits' Acre Society of Jesus Acre, the Company of Jesus, was founded in 1534 on the traditional feast day for Lucifer, traditional since 70 AD. In a secret ceremony in the crypt of the chapel of Saint Denis. Those who were present and given credit for creating this renamed Priory of the Occult are Ignatius of Loyola, Francisco Xavier, Alfonso Salmero, Diego Leal, and Nicolas Bobadilla, all from Spain, Peter Faber from Savoy in France, and Cimero Rodrigues from Portugal, most of whom have been sainted. The Society of Jesus, or more well known as Jesuits, were nothing more than another elite group of militarized Vatican puppets. The Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, was supported by the Venetian Doge Andrea Gritti, and Alessandro Ferse as Pope Paul III, Francis Boat, Duke of Gradia, grandson of Pope Alexander VI and the patron of Ignatius of Loyola. Francis Boas was the main financier and architect in the formation of the Jesuits into the first dedicated military order of monks of the Catholic Church. We may as well repeat the Jesuit oath they all live by here. Keep in mind this oath is not exclusive to Jesuits, but various forms of it are used in every club the elite create. This is what the elite swear their life to. This is what they live by every day. This is where their free will has gone.
In the presence of a mighty God and you, my ghostly father, the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, founded by St. Ignatius Loyola, do by the womb of the Virgin and the matrix of God and the rod of Jesus Christ, declare and swear that His Holiness the Pope is Christ's Vice Regent and is the true and only head of the Catholic or Universal Church throughout the earth. Therefore, to the utmost of my power, I shall and will defend this doctrine and His Holiness' right and custom against all usurpers of the heretical or Protestant authority, and all adherents in regards that they be usurped and heretical, opposing the Sacred Mother, Church of Rome. I do further promise and declare that notwithstanding I am dispensed with to assume any religion heretical for the propagating of the Mother Church's interest, I do further promise and declare that I will have no opinion or will of my own, or any mental reservation whatsoever, even as a corpse, but will unhesitatingly obey each and every command that I may receive from my superiors in the militia of the Pope and of Jesus Christ. I furthermore promise and declare that I will wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will hang, burn, waste, boil, and flay, and strangle and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs of the wombs of their women, and crush their infant heads against the walls, in order to annihilate forever their execrable race.
What does make this group stand out is that years after it was created, it went from being the military arm of the Vatican to being the controlling arm of the Vatican. The Jesuit order is controlled by the upper papal elite bloodlines, and it is through this group the white and black popes are controlled. The switch happened once the Pope ceased to be of the bloodline. Now that the Pope is merely a puppet and not related by blood, the upper elite no longer sit on the public throne and so have protected themselves with another layer of deception. So the Jesuits are the controllers of the upper elite today, and through them the Vatican is controlled. The military arm of the Vatican are the Knights of Malta. The Vatican controls the bankers, and the bankers control the governments and everything else. So the pyramid is. In 1536 war broke out between John Calvin, the founder of the Christian Reformation, to break away from the Catholic indoctrination, and the Jesuits. He was driven out of France and lived in Geneva until he died. John Dee, an alchemist and mathematician in the court of Queen Elizabeth I in 1581, and Edward Kelly began magical experiments contacting spiritual entities and recording their communications, conveyed in the Enochian language. These efforts furthered the development of the Enochian system of magic. Aleister Crowley claimed to be the reincarnation of Edward Kelly. Helena Petrova Blavatsky, who was a dedicated Luciferian following in the footsteps of Dee, is the backbone of the New Age movement. We see their works used by the United Nations, which was set up on their Luciferian doctrines. Sir Francis Bacon, in the 1590s, began the detailed plans by which North America would be colonized. He was the supreme adept in the Rosicrucian Society and established the super-secret Knights of the Helmet, a society established along the lines of Rosicrucianism. which like every other secret society is just a remake of the Priory of CO or Freemasonry. Bacon was also responsible for the modern birth of Freemasonry which the American forefathers followed. Bacon was the writer for Shakespeare, faithfully exposing the elite's agenda of that day. They must always expose what they do to you. You have free will. It is not on them if you chose not to look, it is all out there. The Phelps family of Virginia, related to the Collinses, arrived in Massachusetts in 1630 and became a prominent family in the Skull and Bones. The Taft family, which include President Taft, dates back to Braintree, Massachusetts, helped start the Skull and Bones Order, and at least 8 Tafts have been in the order. This is a popular order for American presidents to be a part of. All presidents are part of one or more clubs. It is mandatory. In 1655 William Paterson established the Bank of England. It is strongly believed that he was a trader in New York in 1668 till 1669, and earlier he had worked with the pirate Morgan, who operated in the New Netherlands area. Witchcraft was part of some people's lives in New Netherlands, but the colony was far more lenient toward them than in the Puritan colony in Massachusetts. The last Dutch governor of New Netherlands, Governor Peter Stuyvesant's sister-in-law, was suspected of witchcraft but acquitted. Ralph Hall of Seattle, Long Island, and his wife were the only ones seriously tried of witchcraft in New Amsterdam, and they were also acquitted. The history of the witch trials in America are very well available, which is why we are merely mentioning certain interesting and key bloodline people here. We will leave the rest for you to research. Many ex-Nazis and elite industrialists have made their homes in the Garderipat area of the Netherlands, which was Peroya. The Bilderbergers built their hotel conference centers near this area. This is also a central spot for the bloodline as we go through their immigration process to America. One of the companies involved in building the hotel was the Nazi family Achaeus. The Dutch William of Orange deposed English King James II from 1688 to 1691. That is significant, because it appears that Illuminati financial headquarters were in Amsterdam prior to William of Orange's victory. After that victory they moved to London and created the Bank of England, known as the Crown. The Crown is where all taxes from America are sent, which is why the country never benefits from them. In other financial facts, the Beast, the so-named supercomputer, which is notified within seconds of every financial transaction you carry on at any ATM, is located in Brussels. The powerful MacDonald family lived in Glasgow, Scotland until the 1692 massacre by the English government against Francis Stewart sympathisers. Francis Stewart was the Grand Master of the witchcraft covens in that area of Scotland, of which there were many, and the MacDonalds were supporters of him. It is this area Donald Trump's lineage comes from as well. In 1730 Sarah A. Collins, who was deeply involved in the occult, like her ancestors, did not want to marry the man her father tried to sell her to. Neither the arranged marriage nor denying witchcraft was for her. She went to Scotland to get to the heart of learning the occult and became a leader in the oldest form of Wicca called the Elf Path. After the American Revolution she left Scotland skilled in occult power, and came back to the United States, where she formed the first covedom of Wicca. She and her brother were powerful Wiccans, and their descendants are the main group of Collins that practice Wicca and Satanism. This is common practice today as well. Hillary Clinton is a 9th degree witch in a coven in Chicago, as well as another one in California. Those allowed in positions of power are allowed for specific reasons. They must meet all the qualifications. Worshipping Lucifer is the main one. A so-called wild woman stabbed Sarah A. Collins to death in a Boston store. Sarah A. Collins is in turn a descendant of Francis Collins of the 17th century. Francis was the head of the family when it came over from England. Have you seen the movie or TV series Dark Shadows? It certainly tells a nice tale, for those who can see. Just as Twilight tells the story of the Collins as well. They are a prized jewel of the elite Luciferians. We will get into the elite family by family now that we have caught ourselves up. Now we see their beginnings and how they formed and infected governments and countries. Now we understand the societies, how they were created and why. In the end, it just has to do with control. The elite have sworn away their free will. They want to take it from you as well. So they control everything you see, everything you eat, everything you believe, everything you learn, everything you hear, and everything you do. If you do not wake up soon and realize this, their next agenda is to control your DNA and thereby control your soul. Stay tuned as we continue exposing the elite. Expect more.